Hello everyone, my name is Noah and welcome to this Stet Studio video. Today we are going to be unboxing some tarot decks. I've had a very busy week and a very busy weekend, and this is just kind of a treat to myself to just sit down this morning with what's left of my coffee, some Girl Scout cookies, and just open these two decks. Now I ordered these a bit on impulse, but I am not regretting it at all. Alright, so we open it up and we have a free shipping card. And we have this beautiful print by the artist. And then on the back it has thank you and a discount code, which I've covered. And yeah. I'm going to take the two decks out of the box, maybe. They fit perfectly in this box. It's a nice box. And they came bubble wrapped. Bubble wrap I think was closed properly, but I did open them to see, but I haven't taken the decks opened them yet, really, you know. So here they are. So we're going to flip them over real quick. And this is, as you probably know from the thumbnail, the Prisma Visions Tarot and the Light Visions Tarot by James R. Eads. This is the 6th edition and this is the 4th edition, and they are actually the same tarot deck, just with different color palettes. And I do have a reason for wanting to do that. I have a specific thought in mind for what I want to do with this deck, and this one I want to use as more of a just a general deck. So they both say on it, the Prisma Visions Tarot or the Light Visions Tarot, a set of cards to ease your mind. 79 card deck illustrated by James R. Eads, includes a 100-page guidebook. So yes, you can see here some of the cards on the back. These boxes are lovely. Oh, are you helping? Are you helping? My good ravioli boy, yes. Alright, so part of the reason I wanted these decks, what, you know, originally drew me to them when I saw them on someone's channel, I don't remember whose anymore, is particularly the style of art in this deck. And you can see the, I don't know if you can see on camera, but the, oh, don't step on that. You can see the reflection of the foil foiling on here, but was the art style, which you can see here. This is the same sort of art style that's in this deck. It reminds me of Vincent van Gogh quite a bit. The same sort of impressionistic, you know, emphasis of the individual strokes. I don't know the art words for it. I should, considering I'm an artist, but I'm self-taught, and that is not one of the areas that I have taught myself in. So we open it up. We're going to look at the box of this one first, and then if the Light Visions Tarot is different, we'll look at that box separately, and then I will show you the cards for both of them at the same time. So we've opened the box up, and it says on the inside, the fool believes he is someone he is not, wading through waters for something unsought. The magician plays tricks in the dark of night, refracting the light of all future sight. A set of cards to tease your mind, revealing a past, present, future combined. So that's what it says. I really like this box. It's a really nice, smooth, fancy cardboard feeling. It feels kind of like if you get an iPhone, that type of cardboard. It's just nice, smooth, matte. And it opens well. Like that a lot. And then on top is the guidebook. I love actual guidebooks, and this had the cover is the same sort of smooth, fancy feeling cardboard cover. So on the spine it has the Visions Guide, and then it's by Catherine Toombs and James R. Eads. The front has an open eye and the back has a closed eye. Open it up. It says that it was written by Catherine Toombs and the introduction is by James R. Eads. And just some basic you know, information. So it says, the Prisma Visions Tarot has become an extremely important aspect of my life. Each card is imbued with a little bit of magic, care, and love. The collection as a whole is one of my most cherished possessions. Now that the Prisma Visions Tarot is ours to share, I hope that you can find the same magic, care, and love that I put into the deck, and that it will help light the way when things are seemingly dauntingly dark. With this guide, you will find everything you need to familiarize yourself with the Prisma Visions Tarot. There is a strong magic connected with this deck, so be sure to treat it with care and align yourself with the universe. Enjoy the wonders within this box. And then it has this, a little bit about tarot in general, some suggestions for conducting a reading, different spreads. You know, there's a couple in here. There's the Vision, the Celtic Cross, the Past Life spread, and then they go into the Major Arcana. And there are no pictures, but there are icons to help you connect with the card, I would assume, and kind of to give you the right vibe, as well as some information. So yes, and then we have the cards. So before we move on to looking at the cards from this deck, I'm going to open the other deck and see how different the packaging is, and we will talk about that. So here we have the Light Visions Tarot. You can see the box is slightly different, but it has the same eye and the radiating outwards, and has gold foiling, whereas the Prisma Visions had blue foiling. And this deck is, like I said, all the cards are the same. I think the extra card might be different. I'm not sure, because each deck contains an extra card. But, yes. So we open this up. It's the same sort of paper, papery feeling, nice soft matte. And it has the same poem here. And this is the guidebook. And I believe this might say all the same sort of things inside. We will see. Let's see if this has, yeah, it was written by Catherine Toombs, and yes, everything there so far is the same. All right, now this note from the creator says, there are two main reasons why I make art. The first reason is for myself. It helps me grapple with the existential questions that can fill my mind. When I make something that I can really connect with, that's a little bit of my soul understanding its place. The second reason is for you. Art is healing, especially now. The Light Visions Tarot deck was the very first tarot deck I created. Originally, I hadn't planned to re-release the deck, but if the world can be made a better place through sharing art, then this deck is something I want to continue to share with the world. The Light Visions Tarot is very near to my heart, and it's one of my favorite things I have created. This second edition is to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the first Light Visions Tarot. With this guide, you will find everything you need to familiarize yourself with the Light Visions Tarot. There is a strong magic connected with this deck, so be sure to treat it with care and align yourself with the universe. Enjoy the wonders within this box. And then it has the same sort of things. We have getting to know the deck, we have conducting a reading, the vision, the same spreads, and then we move on to the cards. I love these little books. I know they're not always the most convenient for everybody because they can be kind of hard to hold open, but I love them. I don't know, there's something about small books like this that make me happy. So I have both decks set up here to look through, but before we start, I wanted to show you, this is the, I don't know how easy it's going to be able to see, but this is the inside of the Prisma Visions box. It has the gold foiling and some symbols. If the camera's not picking it up, I will see if I can take a picture to put in there. And then this is the inside of the Light Visions box, which is not foiled, but does have a very nice little eye on the inside. So before we get into it, let's talk about the cardstock. The cardstock is a very nice, I would say medium to heavyweight, but not so heavy. I don't think you could shuffle it, or that the decks might be too big to get your hands around. The Prisma Visions have silver gilding on the edges, which is interesting considering everything else has been blue on this box, gilding wise or foiling. Not that it really matters to me. I like the silver just fine. I'm having a hard time feeling like I can keep them together. And then, of course, the Light Visions is, I was going to say yellow, but I guess this would be gold. They're very smooth. Like I said, it feels like they're kind of flying all over the place, but they're the same cardstock, which is nice. Let's look at the backs before we start. They are almost the same. They're very similar, but this one, the design is a little more dense, I would say. But it's the same sort of design. All right. So here we have the Fool. It's interesting. They're both the same design, but they're both the same design, but they're different styles. Like this is very much like a hatching style with ink, or at least you know, made to look like ink. If it's digital, I don't know. And the border looks a bit like wood, whereas this one's definitely more of the impressionistic with the little swirls, you know, the brush strokes. So it, you know, it has its similarities, but it has its differences as well, which I really like. And it looks like a bear here, and it's much more visible to me here as opposed to there. So that's interesting. I wonder if that'll affect how I read these cards. It also looks like this one is shifted more this way than this one because the moon's kind of cut off here and it's not there. But that could also just be a printing thing. Printing's not always perfect, but I'm not going to take the time to point out every single little difference in every single card, but I did think that at least for the first card, it would be worth noting. And I will also say the frame is different here compared to this one. But yeah, I like that. I like the Fool as a heron. That's interesting. Because he's definitely capable of, you know, flying off or swimming in the ocean or whatever lake, whatever this is. But at the same time, there's still danger because the bear's there. I think that's a bear. So now we're moving on to the Magician. I like the stars being more stylized here than here. I think that's neat. I don't know if you hear my cat. He's soulfully meowing and then sprinting around the house, but I do like that they are the same. So if there's only one that you really only want or can afford one, you know, you're not really missing out. But I do like the subtle differences in the style of how they were drawn. But I really do like that. It's interesting that that tiny little person's there in between the person's hands. I don't know what to make of that, but you know. Oh, the ground's slightly different too. Maybe I will be pointing out the difference in every single one. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to move on to the High Priestess. Yeah, the perspective's a little different on this one. The legs are closer, but I kind of like that. I like the walking away. It's like, you know what? I'm done with dealing with people for today. I'm going to, you know, retreat and be introverted. That's kind of the vibe I get from it. But yeah, I really like it. And I'm really excited because, like I said, I have a specific purpose in mind for this deck that for what I'm going to be using it for, and it feels like it'll really fit that well. But yeah, I like she's kind of like, I'm done. I need to be, you know, on my own for a bit to reflect and, you know, be in touch with myself. I also like the fact that with this deck, or with this card, you're not seeing a person, which is good. So you can really kind of focus on yourself, which is oftentimes what the High Priestess is about. So we have the Empress. It's really pretty. I was just so taken for a moment. I just sit here and stare at them. Yes, they're very pretty. I love both these decks. They're so gorgeous. I can't believe I'd never heard of these decks before. It was very much someone was talking about it and, you know, talking about it being in their collection, this one. And I think they might have had this one too, but I forget. And I was just like, wait a minute, that is gorgeous. I need that. But yes, so there's that. I don't have as much to say about this one, unfortunately, but here we have the Emperor. This is interesting because we've had all people in the major arcana so far, although I guess not. The Fool was an animal, but that's interesting that we switch the Empress as a person and the Emperor as an animal. But that's interesting. It's definitely not impossible to work with. Again, here we have the same sort of design, but with the style of this deck, it's easier to see the four skulls around the edge than it is here. So that's interesting. There's also a sword here, or like a wand, or some sort of something. It kind of looks like a syringe almost. But, yeah, it is here then, yeah. Okay. Oh, this Hierophant is gorgeous. I love it. Sensing a lot of, like, bull energy, or bovine energy. I really like it. And then you've got that key there, like, the unlocking the knowledge. Yes, I love the constellation design. We move on to the Lovers. Interesting. They're pretty. I could say that about every card. I'm just like, oh, they're pretty. But yeah. I like how her dress kind of combines into all the other dresses that are around in this picture. That kind kind of draws your eyes, and it looks like they're dancing in water here, whereas they're dancing on a wooden stage, perhaps. Interesting. The Chariot. It's a car. I wouldn't have expected that from this deck just because it's all been very timeless, I guess, so far. And this, you know, this brings this deck into a more modern era, I guess. I don't know. I like it. I like the rain. It's interesting that the rain is going in opposite directions in each card. And the bird, that's kind of cute. He's very much in a position where he maybe is the hood ornament, but he also could just be a bird. You know. Okay. The cards are sliding around all over the place. And we have Strength. It's interesting. There's a person then walking. Oh, they're dandelions. Oh my gosh. Okay. That is adorable. I love that. It's like, why is there a person walking through a field of lion's heads? Oh wait, they're dandelions. It's a really cool way to take the original interpretation of the Strength card by Pamela Coleman Smith and like make it your own. So here we have the Hermit, and I must say I absolutely love both of these cards. I think it helps that both of these color palettes are color palettes I really enjoy. So there's that for sure. But yeah, I love that the being on the bridge over the water at night. That just, I don't know, it really feels like this person is alone, but they're okay with that, you know? They're probably, in this case, outside by choice. They just want, you know, some time. And this is the Wheel of Fortune, and I do really like this depiction. I often find when people draw literal wheels, depending on how they're done, very distracting. I don't know, it just kind of feels like it doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the deck, but I do kind of like this. It's not quite an Ouroboros type thing going on there, or maybe it is, with at least with the red snake, but then you've got the blue snake and the peacock fighting. Are those the peacock? I guess those must be the peacock's feet. I was like, does a snake have hands? Move on to Justice, maybe, if I can keep things from flying around. Alright, so here's Justice. That's interesting. It's kind of like, if you're so, you know, so busy trying to hurt someone, you may get hurt. I don't know if I'm interpreting that right, but it also kind of reminds me of the myth of Loki and Segan, but it's a snake, so it's not that like obviously connected, but it makes me think of that. So then we have the Hanged Man. I like this, them floating in the water, kind of suspended, and you can't see their face. They might be alive, they might not be. It's interesting, in this one, just the fish, you can see their bones, but in this one you can kind of see the human's bones as well. But I like that suspended in the water feeling, you know. That really is an interesting way to interpret the Hangman, and I vibe with it. So I know I've mentioned this before, but Death is my favorite card out of the Major Arcana, and probably the entire deck, honestly. So I love to see how the Death card is interpreted in decks that I buy. I don't have to vibe with the Death card for me to want to buy it, but it definitely helps. And I do absolutely love both of these interpretations of the Death card. It's interesting, these look like kind of like bubbles of air or water coming out of it, and this one just, you know, looks like maybe it's blowing apart in the breeze. But I love the skeleton hand holding the rose. And then we have Temperance, and I was gonna say this one's very different, but honestly it's not. It's just that they use negative space to show the person here, whereas the person has a significant, or an outline of their own, you know. I really do like that. It's funny that we go from a card that I really, really like to a card that I don't want to say I dislike Temperance, but I just have a hard time connecting with it. So like my favorite card with the card next to the card I connect with the least, which is interesting. Probably means something. I don't know what. This Devil. Oh, that's gorgeous. It's so creepy, but it's so pretty at the same time. Oh, and there's a snake right there. I wonder if is there a snake in this one? It doesn't look like it, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. I might just not be able to see it. But yeah, I really like this woods kind of. This one has leaves on it. This one doesn't. It's more of like a late fall or winter rather than mid-fall type thing. This tower is gorgeous. I love it. I have a very hard time finding tower cards I like because, I don't know, oftentimes I find the depiction to be kind of distracting or doesn't really fit, you know, my interpretation of the tower, I guess. But I really like this one. I kind of like how this one looks to me more like a sunrise and this one looks more like a sunset, but honestly they could both be either. And I also kind of like how it's the foundation of this house that's wearing away, because that's a huge part of the tower card is, you know, everything's being shook down to the foundations. Everything is changing and it's more of an all at once type thing. So this card, you know, when this cliffside finally goes, the whole thing's gonna fall at once. But yeah, no, I really, really, really like this tower card. I'm really enjoying this deck so far. We haven't even made it out of the Major Arcana yet, and I'm already like, oh, I need to use this deck. We have the Star. Again, this is one where at first glance I'm like, oh wow, these two are very different, but they're not. They both have this same motif of the person in a dress falling and the like lines. This one, they're like kind of like star-shaped flowers, and this one look more like maybe lilies or something. And the person in the dress is negative space again. Sorry, I guess my brain just shut off there for a second. And this one has like the outline of perhaps a silhouette of a person's head, and it's subtle. And this one definitely doesn't have that. But looking at this now, again, not to say that I wasn't looking at it a second ago, but makes me wonder, perhaps she's not falling, she's flying. And rather than the tendrils kind of like catching her as she falls, perhaps they're helping her fly, which would be a more in line with the Star card. But yeah, either way, it's gorgeous. And I like how this one's over water and this one's just in space. It's really, really pretty. We have the moon. These two are pretty similar, it looks like. Oh my god. Sorry, I just, half the time when I look at these cards, I'm just like, oh my god, I love them. This is the Sun card. And again, these are a little bit different, but they have very similar like motif and structure of the drawings. So while they are slightly different in execution, they both really kind of pull together the same sort of vibe. This reminds me of like color runs, or I believe it's a holiday called Holly. I don't know much about it, but I know there's a lot of like color involved. So that's what this reminds me of. Something else, I can't think of what it is though. But yes. I love this for Judgment, the walking through the door. It feels so perfect. This is a card that really kind of reminds me of Vincent van Gogh's style. And that was, you know, what drew me to this deck originally. I don't know if I mentioned why I like Vincent van Gogh as much as I do. I mean, obviously I just enjoy his art as it is, but my mother is also a huge Vincent van Gogh fan, so it's always kind of been a way for us to bond. This World card is amazing. It really is. Oh, there's a person's hand coming out of the lion's mouth. Wow, okay. I feel like this card in particular, you could definitely look at for quite a while and be continually spotting new things. Like, for example, there's a bear, perhaps, from the beginning. And then we have, you know, the lions from Strength, from the Chariot, the Emperor. What one was this? Was this the Devil? No, it wasn't the Devil. It was the Wheel of Fortune was what it was. And these star flowers from the Star. So yes, you're definitely, and maybe I'm pointing out the obvious here, but it really feels to me like there's everything we've learned from the cycle or the story, the journey of the Major Arcana so far is built up in this card. And I don't feel like that's something that is often portrayed in tarot decks. They usually get their own separate image, but I really like this choice to do this. I think it was a good choice, and I think it really works for this deck. So here is the extra card for both. We have tiny elephants for the 6th edition of the Prisma Visions Tarot. And we have Haven, which is the extra card for the 2nd edition of the Light Visions Tarot. I don't know if it was the same for the first version or if they didn't have an extra card or what's going on there, but yes. And this card here, Haven, was kind of what sold me on getting the Light Visions altogether because I love this card. It was very much, I wanted it, but I was like, do I really need both of them? And I honestly, obviously do not need both of them, but it was worth it. I will say you do get a little bit of a discount if you buy both of them together on his website. All right. So now we're moving into the minor arcana, and we have the Ace of Chalices, which would be the Ace of Cups, which, if you're not familiar, is a suit related to emotions and the element of water. And I like this fountain. I feel like it really kind of, it reminds me of the standard holding a chalice or a cup type ace card that is typical to the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, but at the same time it's different enough because I don't really like the hand holding the element symbol or the suits symbol ace cards. I don't find them enjoyable, but it doesn't really matter. We have the 2 of Chalices. Looks like they're enjoying a nice drink in a river, and it is so cold today. My first thought was, aren't they cold? Oh, I really like the 3 of Cups. That's really pretty. I'll probably be using cups and chalices interchangeably, so don't freak out. It says chalices on all of them. My brain, you know. It's interesting, though, how they're definitely 2 different sets of people just doing the same sort of thing. Because their hair is all very kempt or pulled back, whereas their hair here is like unkempt and, you know. They're not all looking the same direction, but in both decks, they're definitely very, very much enjoying their time together, you know. We have the 4 of Cups, kind of like this pouty child. He looks more angry here than he does here, but I feel like both of them kind of have the subtle differences that you can find in the 4s, because the 4s are often can be sadness as well as maybe anger, even if the anger isn't always, or the sadness isn't always like necessary or, you know, really deserved. We have the 5 of Cups. We have the 6 of Cups. I like how she's looking at us, whereas she is not. I also like the oak leaves. There have been a lot of like oak leaves in this deck I've noticed I really like. And we have the 7 of Chalices. There's a snake at the center of both of them. They both have the same sort of like breeze. They could also kind of be the coils of the snake, perhaps, even though they're different colors. Maybe the, you know, the snake kind of changes colors as it grows, you know, but it's probably supposed to be the breeze. I don't know for sure. Oh, I like this one, the 8 of Cups, the walking away, the moving on. I really like that. I also kind of like how the cups look a bit like chains or a walking stick. In this one, it looks more like chains. In this one, it looks like a walking stick, like he's using it to walk away, or, you know, she is breaking her chains, that sort of thing. And again, with the negative space for both of them on their clothing, their robes or dress or whatever it is. We have the 9 of Cups. I like this. This is really pretty. I like the sort of sitting there watching the sunrise or sunset and, you know, just having that emotional fulfillment that comes with the 9 of Cups. Then we have the 10 of Cups. This is really cute. I like them. It kind of reminds me of that one scene from Forrest Gump where Forrest and his friend are sitting in the tree together, but I don't. It's not a very strong memory because I can't remember his friend's name, obviously, but yeah, I like it. I like how they're, you know, they're really happy. They're just together in the tree hanging out, you know, whether they're friends, siblings, whatever. They're happy to be together, and that's really what the 10 of Cups is about, that having that emotional connection. Now here we have the Page of Cups. I love the fish. I didn't even notice him in this card at first. I was more focused on the hat. I like the hat. Kind of reminds me of an acorn top, especially since the leaf on it looks like an oak leaf. Pop those back together. So now we have the Knight of Chalices. Oh, I forgot. I forgot. That's the thing about this deck. The cards line up. Oh my gosh. All right, I'll give you some examples later, or maybe I'll film them later and I'll cut them in here so you can see. But yeah, the Minor Arcana cards line up in a way. I can't believe I forgot. So we have the Knight of Cups. We have the Queen of Cups. I like how wild she is in this picture. Like, she kind of looks wild in this one too, but her hair is more flowy in this one. And we have the King of Cups. Oh, that's odd. I got 2 Queen of Cups and they're the same card. That's interesting. Yeah, that must be like a misprint or something. Huh. Cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with a second Queen of Cups, but you know, there's that. Then we have, like I said, we have the King of Cups. This one is kind of, for me at least, hard to tell what's going on. He kind of looks like it's just his head, but I can see it here, so I understand that he has his arms up, and I can see it now there. So here we have the suit of cups all laid out, and I really do like the watery look of this suit, which makes sense considering the cups is the water suit. It really feels to me like this is, you know, you're expressing your emotions, you're letting them out, they can't be contained anymore. And sometimes that refers to not bad emotions, but emotions that usually come from negative situations, but it can also be positive. I also really do like the fish dragon across the arc of the court cards here. I feel like that really does work well. We have the Ace of Pentacles. Pentacles is the suit associated with things like money and day-to-day mundane life, less like emotional, spiritual type things. So it is also associated with the element of earth. You will also see things like coins as written. I prefer pentacles though. So yes, that's that. And we have a door opening, and we have the Two of Pentacles. I like that. It's very reminiscent of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We have the Three of Pentacles. I like the wall being built. That really, really does kind of embody that Three of Page energy. And you can see with them here next to each other, you can see the way they line up. We have the Four of Pentacles. He's really got that stingy, greedy look to him. I really like how the facial expressions change in the characters depending on the medium used in each card, but you still get the same sort of message. It's just, you know, subtle differences, whether they were intentional or not. I like them. But yeah, he's really got that greedy vibe going on. Here he looks more like smirky, like, yeah, I have 4 pentacles and you have none. What of it? Whereas here he looks more worried, like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to take my pentacles away. And we have the Five of Pentacles, which is particularly potent when you consider it is right next to, you know, if you line them up, it's right next to the Four of Pentacles. Someone who has nothing and is very, you know, downtrodden or destitute, or, you know, very much lacking and needing something. And, you know, they literally have nowhere to sleep except for on the ground. Whereas you have the person next door who's kind of like, this is mine. And he's not sharing. That sort of thing. And then we have the Six of Pentacles. I really like for this card, you can see the wall ends, because it's kind of that Six of Pentacles when people work together. I know this card is usually considered the card of like charity, but I often consider it like community almost. Because when you work together and share resources, that's when you really start to, like, you know, walls get broken down. So I really appreciate that feeling that I'm seeing here. And we have the Seven of Pentacles. Somebody's planting them in the ground. The Eight of Pentacles. They're a little bit further along here. They're being watered. They've already bloomed. And we have the Nine of Pentacles. This person's just kind of in the lushness, enjoying it. They have a falcon on their shoulder. Like the house in the distance. That's a nice little touch, which is appropriate considering how pentacles are often associated with the home. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles. We appreciate the not having explicit long hair, so you can kind of, not that men can't have long hair, but it kind of is that automatic when you see something like this. You think man, woman. Here it can be anyone with their child. The fruits of their labor have bloomed and they're happy with their family and they can relax and just enjoy things. And we have the Page of Pentacles. Maybe. There we go. Page of Pentacles. He's got his first pentacle. He's ready to do things, but I wonder he hasn't noticed the vines wrapped around him, you know. That feels very, he's going to start running and just fall on his face. Also, I am a huge strawberry person, so not complaining about that. I love strawberries. Have the Knight of Pentacles. I like the red armor that matches the page's outfit. He's riding a unicorn. We have the Queen of Pentacles. She's sitting on a strawberry. This reminds me of, has anybody ever, and I'm sure somebody that's watching this has, at least one person, has seen that kid's book about the mouse that eats the bear's strawberry? That kind of what these court cards remind me of. We have the King of Pentacles, brings back that bovine steer energy that we saw in the Emperor. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of reminds me of Luke Skywalker standing upside down and lifting the rocks with the Force. I'm sorry if that ruins this card for you, but honestly, I do like it very much. It shows the control that the King of Pentacles has. And yeah, it's a nice card. Ooh, complete color shift. So this is the Suit of Pentacles, and I'm really getting a sort of redistribution of wealth, of bringing down walls out of this, because if the first half of the set has the wall, as you see, then it transitions into this world without walls, without these barriers, and it becomes a much more fruitful and enjoyable place. Alright, so here we have the Ace of Swords. This is the suit that is associated with the element of air and things like communication and logic. And then we have the Two of Swords. We have a person sitting on a stump. It looks like they might be blindfolded. Wearing a bird. Oh, they're wearing a bird mask. Okay, they're not blindfolded. They're wearing a bird's mask. And they're perhaps fighting a butterfly. Or, you know, waving their swords menacingly. It's interesting they're not wearing any shoes. Feet must be gold. We have the Three of Swords. That's very sad, but it's very appropriate. Have the Four of Swords. And the Five of Swords. I like how all the people in this suit are wearing bird masks. That really feels interesting. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But it's interesting though, you'll see when I lay him out, but this person he's looking at the others, kind of being left out. And there's the butterfly again. We have the Six of Swords. The bridge is made out of swords. We have the Seven of Swords. He looks like he's selling swords. Look at all these fine swords I have for sale. But with the mask, you don't really know what his intention is. Is he stealing them? Is he selling them? What's going on? We don't know. The Eight of Swords, I like that. The person feels trapped behind them, but they can just get up and walk around. And then we have the Nine of Swords. That is absolutely terrifying, and I love it. I think the video I watched, somebody pointed out there's 9 teeth in the bird, which is very appropriate. We have the Ten of Swords. I like it. I like it a lot. For some reason, the phrase that comes to mind for me is, oh heck. Not oh anything else, just oh heck. We have the Page of Swords. Kind of reminds me of the archetypal fool about to walk off a cliff, which is also kind of page energy. So, you know, there's that. And then we have the Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. I like the sword motif on her dress and how the feathers coming out of her mask do kind of look a bit like a crown, but she still is wearing the mask. And we have the King of Swords with the baby birds. They're very creepy looking, but honestly, birds are kind of terrifying because they're just modern dinosaurs. Here we have the Suit of Swords. I feel like this is the suit that I have the least amount of thoughts on after looking through the whole thing, but I will say that I feel like this way of storytelling and connecting the minor arcana cards, each suit, I feel like is very helpful in finding those stories and picking them out. And I don't think that necessarily every deck needs to do this, but I really do think that it is a boon to this deck. I do love birds though. They can be adorable. Alright, so we have the Ace of Wands, which can also be considered staffs, rods, that sort of thing. I've seen them trees. So Ace of Wands is the fire suit, and it has to do with creativity. We have the Two of Wands. The Three of Wands. I really, really like those flowers. They're pretty. It's kind of like they're pulling from the well of creativity and creating what's, you know, flowing upwards. You know, the Four of Wands. It's interesting. This one feels a little bit more pippish than a lot of the other minor arcana cards have done so far, but I still like it. I don't have an issue with it. So here we have the Five of Wands, and this picture I really do feel like portrays the conflict inherent in this specific card. I will say the people are a bit easier to see here, and they're a little more abstract here. Not that either of those things is a good or a bad thing. It's just, I don't know, worth pointing out, I suppose. And then we have the Six of Wands. The Seven of Wands. I do like this, the person jumping from post to post. The Eight of Wands. Interesting, this one feels quite a bit different. The trees are much closer in this one than this one, and there's this like swirl going up it. Then we have the Nine of Wands. This one kind of reminds me of Frida Kahlo for some reason. Something about being buried in flowers makes me think of her. And then we have the Ten of Wands. I like that. The person with the bundle of sticks on their back carrying them. And then we have the Page of Wands, which is very interesting. Kind of being taken up by the tree, like they don't really know what to expect, you know, what's going to happen next, which makes sense. We have the Knight of Wands, also held up by the tree. This one looks like it's almost underwater. And then we have the Queen of Wands. And finally, the King of Wands. And he's kind of being, not absorbed, but he's definitely within, like, control. Within control of these fires. So we have here the Suit of Wands, and to me this really just feels like, you know, running wild in nature and just kind of having that creative abandon, you know, with no fears or worries of what other people will think. It's just really a connection of nature and the forest with creativity, which I think is really cool. So yeah, that is the Light Vision Tarot and the Prisma Vision Tarot, respectively. Alright, so now we finished looking through both decks, and I have them here. I did take the extra Queen of Chalices out of the Light Visions Tarot, and I'm going to be shuffling them and pulling a card from each one, as I usually do. I thought while I shuffled, though, I would give a little bit about my thoughts about these decks. I really do like the way that they shuffle, having tried it now. I will say they do feel a little slippery, but I think in time I will either A, get used to it, or B, it'll wear off. I also think that my regular use of tarot decks does not include me trying to perfectly stack them to show via video, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. So we pulled the Two of Pentacles, and I want to say this was something I thought about talking about during the Pentacles the Pentacle suit, but I was thinking that perhaps I could do a more in-depth, like, my interpretation of the story of the Pentacles, perhaps. But I don't know. To me, it really seems like the Two of Pentacles is showing someone who benefits from the social status, the social structure, and, you know, he likes that he's keeping it the way it is. But back to the cards in general, I really do like the cardstock. The size is nice. The deck itself isn't too thick for me to get my hands around. I'm not a huge fan of gilding. I find it kind of annoying, but like not enough to make me not like this deck. And there are ways you can modify your decks to remove the gilding, but I'm not going to bother. It does fit aesthetically though, so I can see why the person who made this deck, why they decided to have it. I think we'll go with this card. And we have the Ace of Swords. Putting them together, you could read what you want from that if you want, or you could take them separately. So yes, I am overall very happy with these two decks. These are the Light Visions Tarot and the Prisma Visions Tarot, respectively, both by James R. Eads. I will leave his information down below. So if you're interested in getting either of these decks for yourself, you may. This is not a sponsored video. This is just me sharing my thoughts on this tarot deck, or rather these two versions of this tarot deck. So yes, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if you would like to like or subscribe or ring the bell or any of that silliness, feel free. We have a good time here. We like to talk about art and writing and tarot and all sorts of things like that. And yes, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. I'm Stet Studio in both places. Yes, and I'm starting to ramble and not make a whole lot of sense, so I'm going to sign off here. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.